Let's start with this proposal yesterday. Caught me by surprise, certainly, from Chuck Schumer.
Absolutely.
And Bernie Sanders saying, oh, by the way, you want to buy back your stock, you first have to take care of your employees.
Absolutely. And this is obviously because buybacks have become a huge issue, especially in this year after the big tax cuts. What are companies going to do with all this extra cash? Well, they're buying back stock in a really meaningful way. I don't want to dwell on this too long because I really want to get Blair Effron's view on this, because this has been probably the talk of so many C-suites over the last year or so, and many companies have bought back shares. What do you make of this?
Jason, it's interesting. It has clearly been on everybody's mind. Buybacks, cash, generally, it's kind of 33, 34% of total cash flow. I think the whole discussion goes back to the discussion we were having in the last presidential election. How do you promote long-term growth? How do you actually make investments today that have benefits not just in 1 year, but in 3 years, 5 years, and beyond?
Right.
I think what the argument misses is most companies are actually pretty good about applying capital to where they see opportunity. If they have a high producing opportunity, they would love to do it and will do it over a buyback. It is not, let's do the buyback and then see what we have left over to invest.
Yeah.
It's the other way around. Let's invest everything we can that we consider highly productive. And then with what is left, how do we take some of that cash flow and reward shareholders in the shorter term? It obviously helps the markets. When you help the markets, you're helping people's IRAs and pensions. It's not just, so you have to think about that. And I think the question to me is we should do policy that promotes growth. I am a huge believer in it, whether it's more R&D credits, how you think about depreciation, how you think about long-term capital gain, going from 1 year to 3 years with private equity funds, the right thing. So my goal, my hope is as we go through 2019 and you have 30 candidates in the Democratic Party running, that we end up at a place where the candidate chosen can be as popular to as broad a group of Americans as possible. And there's a poll I saw yesterday by Pew that 55% of Americans, if you're a Democrat, want the number one thing is that you have somebody electable. So the more we are sitting in January, a year away from primaries, making positions that we may want to back away from as a country and as a party down the road, I think we should be thinking twice about it.
At the same time, it's no coincidence that Bernie Sanders was on this. And you see, we see, for example, Elizabeth Warren with a tax on wealth and things like that. In order to be attractive to a large part of the population, you're going to have to persuade the people, the have-nots, as it were, that they can participate.
Well, by the way, you bet, and they should. I mean, they need to. We're not doing a good enough job as a country. 40% of wealth in the country used to be for 90% of America. Today it's 25%. That's not acceptable. Mm-hmm. We spend $1 trillion at the wrong point in our cycle on a tax cut. Corporate tax, good. The other piece, bad. Deficit's going the wrong way. How do you reinvest in education? How do you reinvest in healthcare? All these issues are really important. And my point is, I think the party's entirely correct. However, you have to have a group of policies that all work together.
Right, like how you do it is different. There was a Bloomberg opinion article that was basically like, hey, it's called raising the minimum wage. You could all just do that instead of like limiting buybacks.